Works of genius are often simple. Such is the case with eggs. They are perfect, isolated life support systems, invented by nature. Let's start with its main component, the yolk. It's a medium for nutrients that contains all of the necessary substances for the development of the embryo. The yolk is held in the center of an egg with the help of special rope-like connections called chalazae. You can see them when you break an egg open. When the embryo consumes the nutrients, large quantities of water are produced, which evaporate through tiny pores in the shell, and air that comes from a special cell takes its place. The embryo also breathes through these pores, by the way. Scientists have calculated that during this stage, the egg absorbs about 1.5 gallons of oxygen, and it produces about 1.3 gallons of carbon dioxide. How could we possibly make an omelet from it now?
Minerals such as calcium, sodium, and phosphates are a must in the chicken's diet for forming a strong shell. The bird spends a lot of time and energy on creating it. The process lasts about a day, and during this period, the chicken neither moves nor eats. The performance of laying hens depends on the breed. Chickens can be raised for eggs or for meat.
Dual-purpose chickens are fat, big, but they produce fewer eggs. They produce 1 egg every other day, or every 2 days.
And these are small?
Yes, these are small, slim chickens. They have a rich plumage, so they seem big.
The tastiest and healthiest eggs are those collected 3 days after they are laid. Protein and yolk have matured, and the egg is digested faster by the body. If eggs are stored for a long time, there will be fewer nutrients inside. They turn into acid and water that evaporates through the pores of the shell. This leads to an increase in the air cell at the bottom of the egg. So the longer the egg has been stored, the bigger its air cell has become. Therefore, if eggs are large but light, it means there's a lot of air in them and their shelf life is almost over. The grade of an egg is determined by its weight, but we can't say that the bigger the egg is, the better. Not only the quality of the diet affects the egg size, but also the conditions in which chickens live, and also their age affects that. The older the hen, the bigger its eggs. Okay, now I know what eggs might be and what affects their quality, so it's time to go to the professional kitchen. Coming up in the program, an omelet in a vacuum. What's the taste of this delicacy? How can you easily peel an egg with the help of science? What is the coagulation of protein, and why will knowledge of this chemical process greatly facilitate the life of novice cooks? The egg or the chicken? Today, we're not going to discuss what came first, we'll just focus on the egg. And I hope that after our master class, I will learn to cook not only a simple omelet, but also a poached egg.
Eggs have always posed difficulties when cooking. They are a very delicate product, which can be really easily ruined. People used to eat soft-boiled eggs, but then at some point they discovered that there are other ways to prepare them. So they became tastier and have a better texture. And we were amazed by this, both emotionally and gastronomically.
Hello, Andre.
Hello.
Thank you for welcoming me into your restaurant. I hope today you will reveal the whole truth about cooking eggs.
Well, I don't think I can reveal everything, but I will share everything I know.
At first glance, an egg dish seems quite easy to make, but when you start thinking about all the nuances, everything becomes much more complicated. The first dish that the chef and I are going to make today is an omelet. But we're going to use an unusual method, and we won't be needing a frying pan.
We are going to make it in a vacuum. With the help of this thermistor, we need to reach a temperature of 170 degrees. I agree that this method may seem quite complicated. Some think that it's as difficult as building a space station.
Something that can really only be done by professionals.
Yes, but in fact, it's really easy. Break an egg, then here's what we do.
Is there a difference how to break eggs?
No, I don't think so. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Just make sure that there are no shell pieces.
First, you must whisk the eggs as if you were making just an ordinary omelet. Then add salt, spices, milk, or cream, according to your taste. The chef followed his signature recipe, adding the so-called burnt butter melted by fire. It will give the dish a pleasant taste of caramel and walnut. Then the mixture should be placed in a special vacuum bag.
The eggs are getting there. The temperature slowly but surely cooks the ingredients. But since they're in a bag, they don't get burnt, so the mixture that we have here will be cooked very slowly. Well, let's try them.
And evenly.
And evenly, yes. Yes.
The egg white begins to coagulate, that is, to clot, at a temperature of about 150 degrees. And this temperature is high enough to cook it. When we dip the egg into boiling water or pour it into a frying pan, the temperature is much higher than is actually necessary. The egg whites begin to lose moisture, which leads to a harder texture. The yolk has approximately the same coagulation temperature, but it requires much more time to coagulate than the egg whites. So the most common problem that arises when making eggs is that the whites become chewy, tasting like rubber, and yolks remain raw. Preparing eggs at unusually low temperatures allows us to cook them gradually until they are ready to eat, both the yolk and the white. To achieve even warming, the package with a future omelet should be shaken periodically. It is also important to adhere to the cooking time to obtain the desired texture. In this case, it's about 17 minutes, and the time is already up.
It is ready.
This texture would definitely be hard to achieve in a frying pan, right?
Yes.
It's almost like a puree. But it's ready to eat already.
It just needs to cool down a little.
Coming up in the program, how to turn an egg into a rubber ball at home. What are the secrets of a perfect poached egg? And is it possible to cook eggs only with the help of ethyl alcohol? This dish, made at low temperatures, is obviously different from a traditional omelet. And it's time to taste it.
This is like a half-scrambled egg. But now it's going to cool down, and it will become denser. Here,
Okay.
help yourself.
How much should I take?
That depends on how hungry you are.
I'm always hungry. I'll try it.
Yes.
This is the moment of truth.
Do you like it?
But it doesn't taste like an egg for some reason.
Let me try.
It's like an egg with caramel. I think it's your secret ingredient, the burnt butter. It's very important.
Well, you'll agree that thanks to the butter, the egg has a way better taste.
Mouth-watering.
Mouth-watering.
The serving of an omelet deserves special attention, of course. It seems that the story about the goose that laid the golden egg wasn't a fable after all. With the help of a confectionery bag, the chef and I placed the omelet in these golden eggs, real works of culinary art.
I'll add caviar to the top, but it's not sturgeon, it's halibut caviar.
Wow. I mean, you're serving it with caviar for someone else, but I ate it with bread. Thank you.
Well, there you go, Katya. Here's how our eggs turned out. They will be presented this way, looking pleasant and modern. And the omelet that you thought looked unpleasant and weird now is decorated in this unusual way, and it looks, I think, quite nice.
Very beautiful.
Katya, I can see you're very busy.
Yes, I am. I think it might sound a little weird, but I'm trying to bring the water to the temperature of yolk and egg white coagulation, which is about 150 degrees, but right now it's only 120 degrees.
Okay, so we still have some time.
Yeah, about 30 degrees more.
Great, that's all I need. Look what I brought you.
Is that a rubber ball?
No, it's an egg that I kept in vinegar for 24 hours. An eggshell is 90% calcium carbonate, and when interacting with acid, the shell begins to decompose, and it emits carbon dioxide.
Okay.
So I'll show you right now. Look, I take some vinegar and place the egg in it, and you will instantly see the formation of bubbles on its surface. Look, these bubbles are carbon dioxide. If you leave this egg for a day, the shell will be completely dissolved, and we will get this kind of rubber ball.
So this is sort of like a scientific way of peeling an egg.
Well, not quite. You shouldn't eat this egg because it's absorbed a lot of vinegar, and as you can see, it's even increased in size.
Then why did you bring it to me? Is this just a trick?
No, it's not a trick. If you know how protein and acid interact, you can make a great poached egg.
Actually, I've been wanting to do that for a while.
You see, I always show up at the right time. By the way, you forgot about the water. I think it's already boiling.
I have everything under control.
Okay, I'll go then. When we fry or boil eggs, there is a change in the structure of the proteins. Or to put it simply, they are destroyed. At room temperature, the protein molecule is twisted into a ball. When the temperature rises, the molecule gradually unwinds and connects to other molecules. The chemical formula changes, and therefore the color changes and the ingredients acquire a familiar flavor. But you can change the structure of the proteins not only by raising the temperature. I'll make some scrambled eggs with ethyl alcohol. If I break an ordinary raw egg into ethyl alcohol, the same process will happen as when frying an egg, denaturation. And although the eggs look normal to us, I wouldn't recommend that we eat them. Let's go back to the poached egg. Vinegar, like ethyl alcohol, accelerates the process which changes the structure of protein, which leads to its contraction. And that's why you should add some vinegar to the saucepan with boiling water. An elastic film is instantly formed on the egg's surface, a result of a chemical reaction between acid and protein. This keeps the egg from spreading out.
A soft, creamy yolk wrapped in tenderly made egg whites. A poached egg is a French delicacy that literally melts in your mouth. Its preparation requires certain skills and, as it turns out, some scientific knowledge. Coming up in the program, are there alternative ways of cooking poached eggs? How to properly serve this French delicacy? And can you eat a yolk after deep freezing it?
The traditional poached egg recipe that everyone knows requires a pot, boiling water, and some vinegar. Then you mix it all with a spoon until it's spinning around, and only then can you drop the egg in. The egg white spins around the yolk and clots quickly.
So the secret is with the vinegar holding the egg together, or what?
Exactly. It makes the egg clot, and we made a little whirlpool in the pot. So the egg starts spinning around, and the whites wrap themselves around the yolk, creating this texture.
From the chef's tone of voice, it's obvious that he doesn't like this particular method of making poached eggs. First of all, the traditional recipe for poached eggs requires breaking an egg into boiling water. And this, as we already know, will make the protein too dense. Moreover, the addition of vinegar affects the taste of the finished dish. Therefore, Chef Andre prefers another way to prepare the delicacy. Traditionally, poached eggs are boiled without shells. But it turns out that this dish can be cooked by submerging a whole egg in hot water.
We have a lot of orders, yeah? And every egg should be the same. So to achieve this, we use the thermistor. We take an egg, and we set the temperature to 140 degrees.
How can you adjust the temperature when you're at home? Do you need to have a thermometer?
A thermometer and a pot, and the controls on the stove panel. So what's good about this method? Yeah, it's a method actually. First of all, we can cook up to 60 eggs here simultaneously. Well, about 50 eggs. It takes 40 minutes.
For like a big family. It seems that not many people will want to spend 40 minutes cooking an egg, though. That's really long.
Yeah, but for me personally, the genuine pleasure that I get from eating is more important. I can wait a bit.
Longer cooking times are required so that the yolks and whites reach the desired consistency at low temperatures. The poached egg cooked inside its shell ends up having an ideal shape, and more than that, it's protected from interaction with outer conditions. So eggs are cooked inside their shells, which remain intact. Well, these have been the most exciting 40 minutes of my life.
Here you go.
Let's look at what we've got. Is everything okay?
Yes.
You don't want to break something that's so beautiful. One of the rules of serving dishes properly is a combination of various textures. A tender poached egg goes well with more solid foods, as they accentuate its creamy structure.
Here we have vegetables, cauliflower, broccoli, carrots. I've already blanched them, and now we're going to add a little bit of oil and salt. But don't forget that it's really important to cook them correctly so that they become crispy. When you're combining an egg with something, the egg should be the thing that's soft. Always tender. It must have a creamy texture.
And it must go with something crunchier.
That's right.
I couldn't be more delighted. I never thought a poached egg could be cooked in its shell. It's amazing. Now the program is coming to an end and we still have yet to learn how to peel eggs. I'm sure that Alexander has some scientific solutions for this serious problem.
There's a thin membrane under an egg shell. When being cooked, it sticks to the shell and makes it hard to peel the egg. A very simple method can help us solve that problem. Put the egg in cold water. Due to the temperature difference between the protein and the shell, a layer of air is formed, which helps us to peel the egg. Another method is to add baking soda to the water. This causes the release of hydrogen sulfide. It fills the space between the whites and the shell. And now here's my favorite way. You need to pour a little water into a glass, put an egg in it, cover it with your hand, and shake it vigorously. Water gets into the small cracks under the shell, and here you are. The shell slips off.
I've already learned how to cook eggs at a higher temperature, but what happens if you freeze them instead?
These are the eggs we've frozen to -5 degrees. So why would we do this? And what happens to the eggs? We do this to change the texture of the yolk. When an egg is cooked this way, the consistency of the yolk becomes like that of pâté.
Eggs are frozen at a temperature of -5 degrees for 12 hours.
The eggs are still covered in a membrane, and the whites inside remain liquid. But the texture of the yolk is completely different. See?
Egg whites are resistant to low temperatures. Their consistency does not change. But that's not the case for the yolk. It becomes runny and more jelly-like. Its taste remains unaltered.
It turns out like pâté. You can spread it like this. Look at this unique texture. I mean, it's not as loose as when it was boiled, and it spreads well. You don't need anything else. It's ready to be used.
The yolk is now ready to be eaten after freezing. And as you know, raw eggs contain more nutrients. Today we saw an ordinary egg turned into exquisite delicacies. We all know the ingredient, but its appearance and taste are really amazing. The egg is incredibly sensitive to any sort of influence, and even minor changes in the cooking temperature reveal new flavors. Modern technologies and, of course, science make it possible to look at eggs from a different point of view.
If you are really preoccupied with the emotions and pleasure you get from eating eggs, then it's important to find a method of cooking that can carefully preserve its real taste, taking the results to a different level, and you can then fully appreciate its real taste. Imagine you always drove an old car, but then you get a new Mercedes. First of all, you are impressed by the new car. You can drive faster, you have high-quality speakers. The same thing goes for food. You're used to cooking something in one way, but then someone gives you the same product, but in a new dish, with a new taste. Katya, I'm stunned. As I can see, you finally learned the pressure law, and these are great soft-boiled eggs.
You won't believe it, but I even remember the name of this law, Gay-Lussac's law.
Right, it was named in honor of the French physicist. What is it you have here? It has a very unusual texture.
Help yourself, this is an omelet. I cooked it by dividing the white and the egg yolk because they have different consistencies and therefore different cooking times. You may have already noticed its texture. Now go ahead and try it. Well,
Great, okay. Wow, it's divine.
and there's more yet. Now my specialty, poached eggs. After I made them, I think I can do anything. Go for it.
Thank you, Katya. It feels like I'm in France. I wonder if Gay-Lussac also loved poached eggs.
Try not to think so much, just eat.
All right.